Welcome to the Arcadia Roundtable. If you're watching it live, it is bang on 8 o'clock right now. If you're watching it after the fact, I've got no idea what time it is. We're here for the 14th episode of this wonderful little podcast that we've got going. We've been having fun with this, and I think we're going to have another good one, despite some misery in the industry going on today. But we're still going to have a good time of it. Chris, how you been?
Not bad. I mean, today is attacked us like a whirlwind, hasn't it? Yeah, all good. Obviously, just been spending a lot of time in the hospital, as you guys know. Obviously, most of the awesome people of Gaming Arcadia Discord know what's going on. So they've been really supportive and superb and all that. So, yeah, not managed to play much game. Not managed to play many games, but obviously being around Discord a bit. And obviously today was full of interesting news. No Hades 2 gameplay though, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, Hades 2 thumbnail topic. We'll get into it in a little bit, won't we? We absolutely will, because I'm a massive Hades fan. But before we do that,
what is Hades 2 like, Asa?
What? We'll get into it later, Chris. I'm playing it right now, just scrambling in some game time while we're live. Darge, how you been?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Something happened today that I've missed. I know apparently there's some news happening. You'll have to enlighten me on it. But yeah, I'm all right. I'm still alive, which is a good thing. Yeah, just ready to get into it. We've got some topics. It's been a good week overall, but we'll get into it as we go. So yeah.
We will. We've got a few topics to cover. We're going to talk about all of the Helldivers 2 back and forth, a little bit of Hades 2, a little bit of VR for the VR fans in there, and obviously all of the news of Xbox shutting down their various studios today, plus other bits and pieces that you throw at us as we go. So should be a decent show. Chris, you said you haven't had much of a chance to play anything, and we will understand that, but anything at all? Have you managed to carry on any Manor Lords or?
Sadly not. No, I've missed out on it. I've tried to put some time aside, but just haven't. Just been too busy with work, and then in and out of hospital more than work, really. So yeah, I tried to put a bit of time aside, but failed miserably. Did some gardening at the weekend because it was nice and sunny. So yeah,
that's fair enough. Because Darge has been carrying the load though, because he's a real gamer this week. He's finished at least 3 games, and he keeps on telling us, "I'm a real gamer now. I've done it. I've played 3." Darge, pick your favourite of the 3 first of all. What you've been playing? Indica's your favourite of the 3.
Yeah, I think it releases I don't know because the original release date was the 8th of May, but then it came out on Steam. I think it was Thursday last week. It came out or something like that. But it was one that I'd had my eye on. I kind of put my foot in my mouth because I put a tweet out saying that it'd be like a perfect Hellblade 2 appetizer, just based on what I'd seen in the trailers. You know, like gorgeous, looking. 14-man and women, I assume, dev team. UE5, really good looking, and I thought it had obviously because of the dark psychological side of the story and that's why I kind of made that comparison with Hellblade. It doesn't have any combat.
Justify your comparison. Gosh.
Well, I do
because
that's what the internet never forgets, but yeah. So, but like I did a little mini review in our forum on the Arcadia Discord. It's the first one I've ever done, but I felt like I needed to do something. I didn't do nothing spoiler. It was very loose around sort of the game and how it operates in that. But it's £18 on Steam, so it's going to be like that £20, or the same price on console. And I just want people to play this game because the story in it it's all based around faith, and you play as a I think it's the early 20th or late 19th century alternative Russia, and it's about her struggles with her faith. She wants to be accepted, and you go on a journey with her, and I just loved it, And then Tony from the Discord, good friend of ours, Tony, he played it as well, and I was like, hurry up and beat that game, Tom, because I want to talk to you about it. And then he was like, I've beaten it. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then me and him loosely, because we was in our voice chat with the rest of the gang, we had a little chat, and he was like, I enjoyed it. And I feel like Replicant's going through it right now. I don't know if he's finished it yet. But the review scores, like I say, I don't really pay too much attention to like metas and open critics, but because this launched PC only, there's no clickbaity articles, so to speak, for it. So at the minute it's at an 80. It's had 23 reviews. I just think everyone should play it. I think I enjoyed it. Like the story, there's some puzzles, there's some puzzles in that in there as you go through. But it's a 4 or 5 hour sort of turnout, and so Indica has been my favourite of the week, 100%.
I just played the trailer for it now, which is the first I've seen of Indica, and it's weird because it has almost a horror presentation at the start, and then it goes into weird pixel art, odd stuff.
What it does is. Yeah, so what it does do, like Hellblade, is those like dark mental health themes with Senua's like story as she goes in the first game, and you see visions and voices and things like that, and that's what this game does. Like the audio, I thought the audio was really good in this, and as you go, I don't want to, because it's such a short experience, I don't want to say too much. Like, do you know what I mean? But as you progress through this story with her, like the ending of the game is like, I compared it to like, if anyone's seen it, the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix, where when it ends, it leaves you asking questions. Do you know what I mean? So when a film finishes and you go, oh, I wonder if and you start like brainstorming. It's kind of what happens here. Like when you get to it, and it's sort of it's a good game. I want everyone to play it. It's relatively cheap in today's age. Unreal 5, good looking game. 4 or 5 hours, won't take too long. But that's
so before we go on to your next one, we're going to test your sales pitch. Chris, are you going to play Indica?
I think I switched off then.
Oh,
not because of Darge or anything.
Is it rude for not a salesman?
No, not because of the game. I just started getting lost in loads of like Twitter threads. So I think I just went into like a hole. I do want to play it. Obviously, I've heard Darge speak about it beforehand and things like that. So and it's PC only, isn't it? So there's no.
No, it's coming to console. It is. Yeah, it is coming. It is coming to console. Nah. But episode 13 just asked a question. He said, how much horror is in it? There's no horror. There's no gore or anything like that. It's more a psychological one. So it's like dark themes and stuff like that as you go throughout it.
Yeah,
It's great. It's good.
Is
Like
the
I say,
camera view like one of those like chest cams, or is that just for the trailer?
it does.
Where it's like
It
looking
does.
ahead.
It does some other stuff with the camera that can allude to the story as well, so to speak. So perspectives can change at certain times, but the main camera is like third person over the shoulder, Sony, blueprint game. Whereas behind Indica as she goes on her journey. It's like 14 dev studio. I think they had I'm not 100% sure if they're Russian or Ukrainian, but they were caught up in the conflict. So mid-development, they had to relocate, I think, to like Kazakhstan or somewhere like that to continue the game. So they managed to get out of God. So it's just good to see
Maybe
that the
Ukrainian
game.
then if they have to relocate because
I would have thought so. Yeah, not unless they deserted Putin. But So it's just good to see a game.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Your
It's 4 or 5
recommendations are
hours.
always decent as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know. But
But I'm a fraud at the minute because I'm not playing anything, so it's like
yeah.
it's
all right. Yeah, but you got life. I've had one of them weeks where life hasn't got in my way. So I've managed to I helped myself to a 4-day weekend as well. So I managed to whack some gaming out. But yeah, Indica, play it. If you don't like it, don't at me. But I think it's a good game.
Good.
Nice.
Let's do one of mine in the meantime. What have I been playing this week? And then we'll bounce back to Darge and go through another couple. I don't know what I've been playing this week. I finished Pyre for the sake of doing a review. So I've been scripting. Pyre is it's a weird game. It's the game that Supergiant made before the first Hades, and it has their signature style running through. It has some brilliant music, some brilliant characters, and a core concept that doesn't really work as a game for me. Where it mixes like a pseudo esport with a visual novel in a way that just doesn't quite fit. So I kind of love it and a meh at the same time. And there's quite a lot to say about it in the review for that one. So hopefully that will come out this week. It's the first review since I've set all this Gaming Arcadia channel up. So please do keep an eye on it because I've got some work to do to make it look nice. And Halo. I had a really hard time playing on Sunday. Stephen Southwick from the Discord is mocking me for not winning when we're doing these community live streams. And I'm using every excuse under the sun. Like, no, I'm reading the YouTube chat. There's like a dog biting my ankle and stuff like that. Just making shit up because I don't tend to win these games. But Forza Horizon we went back to for the first time since we started the community streams. We've done a whole lot of Forza Motorsport, which we do week in, week out. It's a really popular one to go back to because everyone's got access to it and it supports 24 people and it's really easy to just go boom race, boom race, boom race. Everyone has loads of fun with that. But Forza Horizon 5 is my preferred style racing game of the two. So we went and had a little play of that. It's stunningly good looking on the PC. It's a good looking game on the Xbox and it's a stunningly good looking game on the PC because they did a whole load of work post-launch. Xbox, over the last couple of years, they had a tendency to release games where the PC version was essentially capped where the target for the Xbox was, and then you could just push the resolution and the frame rate beyond it, but you couldn't particularly tweak the settings any further ahead of the console. But on Forza Horizon, post-launch, they added all kinds of ray tracing and bells and whistles to push it beyond, and it looks absurdly good and performs really well. So it was fun in that sense, but it's also just it's a nice drifty, exciting game to play through. But we did have some issues with the multiplayer. We did have some instability. We did have some people getting thrown off and disconnected and menus that would just constantly pop up on people's screens to stop them from playing. Nonetheless, Forza Horizon 5 will come back into rotation. It was good once you get into the races. It
was. I haven't laughed. Dave Mack, me and Dave on that particular race, I don't think I've laughed like that much. Like my car was going straight and he was coming up the inside of me towards the finish line. I thought, I can't come in last place. And I literally moved my car like that. So he slammed into me and pushed me over the line. And we were just fighting the whole way around. It was good. It was good fun. It is, like you say. I think that's why I like motorsport, is because you got the rails all the way around. Sort of, you can't really... Whereas when you're in the terrain of Forza Horizon...
There's this one moment that I loved because I was right behind you and Tony as you went round a bend and he just nudged you off a cliff. It's just like watching it happen.
That's what I'm saying. That's the Horizon effect, But it was good. And it is really... Like, I know you obviously really want it in VR and you always talk about Horizon. And then going back to it from Motorsport, it is really good looking. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was good fun.
It was. Dave Mack, thank you for becoming a YouTube member again. Dave Mack's been around for ages and doesn't need to do that, but it is fantastic. We've got loads of members going on now. The Discord is actually, for those that aren't members yet, we have made some little changes on the Discord, trying to open up different parts of it for people that aren't signed up. So it is worth checking out, even if you're supporting us without being a member. There's hopefully plenty for you to find and do there and talk to, just to get involved with the community that we've got, because it is brilliant. Darge, give me another game.
That's Zool, Tales of Kinzera. I think I just...
Zool, like the ant.
Yeah, or like Zool, the old... what was the old game back in the day, like, on the Amiga?
Yeah. Team 17.
That's it, yeah, Zool. Yeah, well, however we're saying it, Zal, or whatever.
Just go with Tales of Kinzera, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. It's really good, like, really good. Obviously, like I said in the Discord, like, Ori is here at the top. But it's not too far below, you know, for a first game. I don't know how many developers are at that Surgent Studio. I think they're called, the team behind it. But it's a really good game. And, you know, like I said, you know, with a Metroidvania, for me, if they can get the button mapping right, where doing all your abilities, it just becomes second nature with your fingers, then you're on to a bit of a winner, so to speak. But yeah, they've done a good job of it. You know, it's 10 to 12 hour long game. I've just one run it. I didn't bother going around the whole map trying to collect everything. But yeah, really, really good game. I said I felt a bit bad because obviously the guy came out of the VGAs, didn't he? And he got a bit teary saying he'd made this game for his dad. And like, I felt bad because I just have this habit of when like the bubbles come up with a text for the speech, I'm just like, bang, 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 like I'm just skipping it, you know. But yeah, that's a good game. You know, I think it's £18 at launch, so I think give it another month maybe, and the arse will fall out of that price, and it'd be definitely worth a purchase or a playthrough. You know, I think so anyway. It was a really good game. Yeah. Have either of you played that yet? I don't think you have you?
Oh, I've played it for like an hour or two, but this is a test again. Chris, how was the sales pitch? Are you going to get this game?
I mean, my backlog's getting big, isn't it? So I need to jib something off at some point. So I need to just play the games that I want to play first. Manalord needs my attention.
Yeah, and that's probably like a fairly unlimited amount of time that you can spend on Manalords if you want to as well, isn't it? So. We'll try it one more time, Darge. What's game number 3?
Game number 3 is, I think it was at E3. I keep calling it E3, but the Xbox showcase last year. I think, I might even be wrong, it might be longer. Is that Juston, the climbing one? And
I saw you doing a live the other day. It looked quite good.
And yeah, so I think forgive me, it was either Luke Steele or Replicant. One of them said to me that, I think it was Luke Steele. He said that's another UE5 game, so it uses all of the lumens. Yeah. So I played it through PC Game Pass. Managed to get a game out of my monthly sub this time, and yeah, like Asa's got it up there on the stream. And as I was playing through it again, like 5 hours, maybe something like that, to climb up this thing. But there's a part where you get into, I took a load of screenshots. Obviously, we've got like a gameplay reservoir in the Discord where we just bomb screenshots and game clips and stuff like that. And when you get to some of that inside the caves, there's like these like coral looking sort of plants and things growing everywhere. And they have like these colourful like bulbs and stuff like that. It's a really good looking game. And Tony, I spoke to Tony, he'd had a little go with it. And I think Patrick as well might have been the other one. And they said they'd done a level. It was like, oh, I've done one level, like, and I don't know why, but it's just like left trigger, right trigger. They climbing buttons. And yeah, it was a good game. You know, Game Pass, obviously, you might as well have a go. It might not. Go on.
It's from Don't Nod, who are more known for their story games. Yeah. Like, does this one tell a story, or are you just climbing for the sake of it?
This is the problem, isn't it? Like, you come to me, there was plenty of pickups of notes and pads and I wasn't reading one of them because I was enjoying the climbing. Like you see here, these like little insecty types that crawl along. So it's not, there's a little bit of puzzle element to it, slightly.
It's got weather.
But
sorry,
it's got it's got some great weather actually. It's got some great wind in that game. But yeah, so there is a story. So if you want to take your time with it and read the story, I'm sure it's probably a good story. But I just was enjoying myself. Yeah, October 31st, 23. So it's 6 months old or whatever. But yeah, I was actually enjoying climbing, because like obviously you have three. I don't think they call them carabiner. They call them whatever they call them. So you could get so high on a climb and then plug one of these things in the wall. So if you did fall, it wasn't as big a drop. You get me? So it was sort of like your own checkpoints. Or if you had to do like a big jump, you think I'll stick one here because if I don't make it, I ain't got to go all the way to the bottom. And then you've got a stamina bar as well. And if you don't rest during a climb, you've got like a long section to do with some jumps and things like that. It's best to do a little bit, rest, let your stamina go back up. Because what I found is when I was getting 3/4 of the way up the climb, I had no stamina and you'll just let go and fall all the way back to the bottom. And it's got a little stamina bar there that you got to manage as well. But yeah, it's a good game.
You need to play that little Crytek VR climbing game then.
What game?
The
You need to
climb.
play that old Crytek Climb by Crytek on VR. Love that bit. Sounds like sounds like it balls deep into the climbing genre now.
Well, I don't know if you remember me telling you, but I'm a roofer, so I do quite a fair bit of climbing. Hang on.
When you're like an alpinist, then I'll worship you when you climb up some scaffolds.
I'm always traversing the scaffolds of London town, so that's probably why I take to them quite well. But I'm not doing VR, so the climbing nearly got me thinking, well, actually, it ain't a bad idea. That what I mean, but no, it's not happening.
We nearly
got through an
episode
without you saying you were a roofer. But
yeah,
I'm a roofer. That's me. So you're going to hear that every week now, mate. You hear it every day on the phone anyway, so you should be used to it by now.
I haven't been that much of a roofer for the last week or so. You've just been a full-time gamer, like an esports.
I'm a man of many talents.
That must be nice. I haven't got any. Chris, VR. You said today you're suddenly going to be a little bit more tempted by the VR just because you've seen some chat going on, a couple of games on the horizon, things like that. Have you? I mean, there's not been much to see yet, but have you had a look at Aliens and Batman games that come into the VR headsets?
I mean, I had no idea like a exclusive Meta Batman was coming out or something. So I don't know if I just slept on that or is there a video to watch? What type of game is it?
Yeah, it's only a little CGI trailer, so there's no evidence of what kind of game it is. But it's using specifically the Batman Arkham naming. I don't really know how Batman licensing
works. Wasn't like that old Batman game where you used to just go in the Batcave and put the suit on.
So you did get to have a go with that. I can't even remember what that was called. It was like a 10-15 minute tech demo where you got to go in the Batcave, throw a batarang around a bit, and then for some reason you met the Penguin, right? And it looked quite nice, but it wasn't really a game. No, this one is supposedly going to be an actual game, but how it plays out, I don't know. Because there's a couple of bigger games coming to VR. Because there's an Aliens game from Servios, who are a quite well-established VR studio, and there's the Batman game that's coming from Camouflage, that's the studio that made the Iron Man game for PSVR before Meta acquired them. So they also know what they're doing, because that game, despite the limits of the technology, was well before PSVR 2 died. So they know what they're doing, but these are the reason that the two games stand out is that they don't support the Quest 2 and the Quest Pro, so that leaves me and you out of the loop, not able to play them when they actually do release unless we get some new hardware going.
I know, that's what I said in the channel. I said, like, watch by the end of this week, I'll be buying like a Quest 3 or something. I'll be doing a Darge and just a FOMO.
Yeah, do those IPs though, are they going to pull you in? Like, would you actually consider getting one to play those games? I know we haven't seen them yet, but
I do want to take some travel sickness pills and do a bit more in VR. And definitely I want to I've obviously got a direct drive wheel from Fanatec or whatever. Just need to get like wheel and pedals. So I like the idea of jumping into like racing games with VR and stuff. So yeah, I need to get some time and then spend some time in VR Kingdom. Obviously, I used to
I
play
will
like
race you.
a couple of the I can't remember what it was called. There was kind of like a tactical shooter that I used to play with a couple of the guys in work. I think
Onward.
those type of games, like your Sunset, is Sunset Overdrive or Sunset. I can't remember what it's called. Where it was like a zombie game and you had pistols, like a
Arizona
story driven
Sunshine. Hmm.
Arizona Sunshine. Yeah. So some of those games and stuff were good playing them. So I just need to kind of have a look what's in the catalogue again and jump back in really.
Darge.
But yeah, I want to do more kind of flight sim stuff and that. I did do a bit of flight sim with
That's what you got
VR.
it for, wasn't it? In the first place, Flight Sim. I seem to recall. Or the first
Yeah,
thing you
I got
jumped
it.
on.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I kind of got it when it first came out because I'm a terrible for like early adopting tech and stuff. But yeah, wanted to get it for racing games and VR and stuff. I want to play like VTOL VR as well, which I'm actually in the Discord, but I've just never ever like booted it up and stuff like that. But I've got I've got decent cables and stuff now, so I could put that on. But I think I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure like the Meta Quest software or whatever on my old PC was like crashing it like terribly. Um, but I'd have to install it all again.
You don't
But
need that. So you can play, because Steam has software now. You just download Steam Link on the Quest headset. And if you're not trying to capture it and stream it and stuff like that, it's actually really easy to get onto any
okay,
Steam game.
I'll do that then.
Mm.
Yeah, that'll be good then. I'll do
Yes,
that.
you're away.
And yeah.
Darge, you're terrified of virtual reality headsets, aren't you? What?
Yeah, do you know what? Go on.
Is there like any IP or game that would change your mind, would turn your head, that would get you to try it?
I doubt it would get me to
Ultimate Roofing Simulator.
Obviously, but that's a pipe dream. Until we make it, that will not
We'll
exist.
make it.
Yeah, like this. So this game is a sort of game that would, but then it would for me if I know Rocksteady are not like VR. Yeah, like they're not a VR dev, so to speak. But if Rocksteady were involved in this and it had that Arkham trilogy aesthetic and everything like that, and then you got the VR on and you can go into that detective mode, and stuff like that. That sort of stuff would appeal to me. Whether or not it's enough with me, let's have it right. You're going to go and buy a headset. You want to play more than one game. You know what I mean? But then it could be a gateway in. Do you know what I mean? But
when you get a headset on, me, you and Asa could fly around VTOL VR together, like wingmen.
Flight, do you know what? Flight Simulator in VR would be fucking. I would be I'd be really interested to give that a go because I actually, in the odd times that I've played Flight Sim, I've just like astounded by that game. You know what it does. So it would be
amazing. It is amazing in
Yeah.
VR, and it like weirdly. Remember when I first tried it, Darge, and I said like I played it twice, like the Top Gun add-on. And it was just amazing. I was just flying around, like flying around like Wales and stuff like that. Really good. And I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like the refresh rate was decent, stuff like that. Put it on the third time. Oh my god. I had like the proper like travel sick sweats. And the
Yeah.
first two times I played it for like 2 or 3 hours. It was just as if I'd suddenly become a professional pilot and could obviously deal with all of the movements and stuff, but I put it on the third time and it was fucking.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my god, I
That
have to
would
take the
like
headset off, and I had that kind of sticky,
Damn.
oh my god, I just need to
Yeah.
lie down.
Yeah, that sort of experience that you're saying there, for me, I know what I'm like. Like I said last week, I think like since I haven't been driving, being in the passenger seat makes me feel sick. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think if I had that experience once, like if someone had a MetaQuest for a year and went, give that a go, and I went, all right, because I'll give it a go. Yeah, but if I come off of playing it and felt ropey after, I would never touch it again. Like I would
Not
literally
true.
go because I know
You'd be
what I'm
so
like.
impressed. No. You'd be like, you'd feel ropey, but you'd be like, oh my goodness, that's the best piece of gaming that I've ever
said-
experienced. I need to conquer this sickness.
It was Sony's biggest kind of thing to overcome. So like when they were first working on PSVR, I remember we got early kind of prototypes in, and we converted like Wipeout. We did like a little version of Wipeout, so you
nice.
were on board, and it was all VR and stuff like that. Literally, and I mean everyone, 100% of the people who tried it were sick. It was just fucking carnage, and everyone was just like, how the hell do you get like the casual masses to adopt this?
Yeah.
And we brought like people from the testing team in, all the devs. We brought like just gamers who were working in like admin and stuff like that. We were like, try this. Fucking every single one of them just absolutely dog sick.
What I loved about Wipeout, because I used to love Wipeout. What was the date of it? Wipeout 20 something, like the one on the PlayStation.
2097 or
that's it.
20 like Fury and stuff.
Nah, it was 2097, I think, on the original PlayStation, and that like the craft when you used to go, it used to like just sway like that as you were moving along. It'd sway, and I could imagine being in VR at that speed that they go at, so having all the outside flicking by whilst you're bobbing. I can't even get on a boat like without feeling sick. I can't do that. You know what I mean? But I'm open to having a go on one, but I'm definitely not going to go and drop like a monkey to go and buy one. You know.
But if I get a Quest 3 or 4 or whatever, the next one is, you can take my Quest 2 and have a play and see whether you've got your VR legs.
I might end up walking out my ass in front of a car.
Yeah, you might be like one of those people on whatever, Insta or whatever, who's doing something that just jumps into the wall.
I would.
Just kills himself into the telly.
It's weird that you mentioned Wipeout because there was eventually, like, presumably quite different to the build that you were experimenting with, but it did eventually get a commercial release, and it was actually supposed to be one where they made good strides to conquering that motion sickness. It's like it's how the cockpit's displayed and stuff like that. All kinds of weird things to tweak and try and make it more comfortable. But some people will always get sick. My worst experience was you could play Prey 2, Payday 2 in multiplayer, and it was cross-platform. So you'd have some people running around on desktop and some people in VR, or me in VR. And I did a game of it, and it was fine. I was all right. It felt normal. Did lots of shooting stuff. Had a good time. Went straight into a second game of it. It decided that I was too tall for the map, so it kept like glitching as I tried to go through doors in this like mall or whatever it was. And I ended up just curled up in the fetal position on the floor. I felt so sick. Game was still going on. I could still hear it. My eyes were closed, and I was literally just like, no. So, but it didn't stop me. It didn't stop me. I've not gone back to Payday.
What was that game? Which was like a little Pilot Wings type game, where it wasn't quite Pilot Wings, but you were in aircraft, and they had ways of like overcoming. So they would block off like the side windows, so you'd only see out the front window. And then as you got used to it, you'd open the side windows. I remember playing that. And then it was like, oh, this is all right. I'll open the side windows. And then it was just like, well, it's just. But that's the biggest issue. Like, is as we've said before, if you're trying to get like the casual masses to adopt that, and you, like Darge was just saying there, Joe, a lot of people, if they put the VR headset on and then get sick, just won't go back to it. Because it's like, why would you? It's obviously only us who are persevering a bit. But I haven't had like a good stint yet with some travel sickness tablets, so I'll do that just to see if that just gets rid of that little fire. I was even playing, I think, on Steam, there's like a VR like cooking game, where you like run a kitchen.
There's about 100 of them, but yeah.
Yeah, there was like the main one that came out first. It's really quite good. Less like kind of cartoony. And I was even playing that for a bit, and that just knocked my stomach because that was hooked up to Steam, and I've got it in my Steam library. but you run around like the kitchen, to go over to like different areas to prep and stuff like that. And that did the same
Yeah.
after like 20 minutes. I was just, but it was like the refresh rate was a bit like janky or whatever, so it kept just stuttering every so often. And
Yeah,
if
that'll
you
do
get
it.
something with those stutters, that completely blows your mind, doesn't it? So,
Yeah, you ain't sold
Disaster.
it to me, boys. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I know.
He's just
We
bitter
haven't.
because his sales pitches didn't work at the start of the show. But that all sounds like a disaster. And speaking of disaster, let's segue into our next little topic, which is Helldivers. Helldivers 2 had a bit of a disaster this week, didn't it, Darge?
Yeah. It did. Well, it didn't. Well, it kind of did, but it weren't of its own doing, was it? It was Sony's doing. Trying to implement. I mean, I know like there's been like I try not to delve into Twitter too much, but yeah, there was some confusion about people going, "Oh, well, it was in there from day one," and the thing was with the PSN linking to use the game, Sony were strong arming the fact that it was a requirement in the next update going forward. Problem with that is that Sony had allowed the game to be sold in, I don't know the number, but it was a ridiculous amount of regions that they don't cover.
Like 170 odd plus.
Yeah, it was crazy. But they had these people that own the game, and because of the decision that was being made, they would have been locked out of it. So there was.
You're not wrong, but also the outrage started before people learned that. The outrage started straight away just from it in principle. I think a lot of people latched onto the regional thing because that was like, there wasn't really a counter argument. It's not good enough to sell a game to people and then tell them they can't play it anymore. But initially what happened was, you're absolutely right in what you say. PSN was, when the game was sold, they said you're going to need PSN for it. You need to link your account. And when you booted the game up, it splashed up and said, PSN linking is required to play this game. But within a day, they put a big skip button on there because they were having technical issues and they couldn't actually get that working. They couldn't handle the load. So everybody skipped it for like 3 months. And then suddenly, Sony, via the Helldivers community and however, PR people, announced that as of the end of May, you're going to need to link it again. And they presented it as, once you've linked your PSN account, it's going to make it easier for us to ban people. And that was like the only kind of positive they presented was like, oh, yeah, the benefits of this are it's going to make it much easier for us to like really robustly ban you from playing the game if you're cheating or whatever, which is a conversation in itself. And we might touch on that, like how they should be handling cheaters and what's reasonable in a game that you pay for. But but they reversed course very quickly, right? Steam users banded together in a big way, left like hundreds of thousands of negative reviews on the game, really kicked up a fuss, put enough pressure on it that Valve started honouring refunds beyond their usual policy for it. And that's where things start to hurt a publisher like Sony. When people are getting that money back, then they take note and they reverse the decision and everything is carrying on as it was.
Chris. We got like Satam. Oh, go on, mate. You go to Chris. I don't want to.
Yeah, okay. We'll go Chris first. Chris, what does this mean? Are PC gamers all powerful, or what's the story?
I think it's one of those. I think one of the things it does mean is that Sony value the PC gaming community in terms of it's an area that they do want to move into. Obviously, we've got, a few days away from Ghost of Tsushima, which is going to have obviously the PSN trophies and stuff in. Sony have started porting everything over to PC, as we know. They'll probably go day and date or close to at some point because you just can't ignore the community in the market that's there. I think obviously if there's enough outcry anywhere, there can be a bit of a reaction to it. The difference is obviously they're probably not going to do much on the console side of things if there was an outcry, because obviously the console ecosystem has your PSN account and has trophies and stuff like that. So it's easier to just kind of ignore that. But I said in the Discord, I've had a couple of conversations with people attached to Sony, kind of certain areas and departments and stuff. I'm not going to say where because it'll give things away. But there was this kind of there's a few people internally did think that it was just going to be smooth sailing. It was massively underestimated, and there was like a massive panic going on when obviously the review bombs kicked in and stuff. Sony are very driven by high quality reviews, and that really started to kind of bother them. As we saw publicly, but behind the scenes, obviously the Helldivers developers and stuff like that were in ongoing talks, and it's actually it's already said to Sony that they didn't want the PSN requirement. It was kind of like a bad idea. So good on them for kind of coming out and going, we've heard you, we've reversed it. There's a lot of people and a lot of hot takes going, all you've done is delayed and they're just going to bring it back in a month or two or something, which is, I think, is bollocks. There's no way they're going to try that again. They may try and bring trophies as a whole to PC and kind of do it in a different way. And it's good to see like the community have all rallied together and put all the positive reviews back on now and try to like rebalance it on Steam. But it's a weird one because the actual connected of a PSN account. I mean, the first thing I did when I booted Helldivers up was connect my PSN account. I haven't really got an issue with it. But obviously, I understand if people have never played on PlayStation before and don't have to have a PSN account, or didn't, maybe not wanting another account for whatever reason.
I think as well, like Satama, who's obviously in Germany, he wouldn't have been affected by this update anyway. When you say about the PC community, are they all powerful and blah 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 blah? I think there's probably a bit of that, but also it's a market that Sony want to tap into, and also Sony don't knock out a lot of multiplayer games. You know, like they're single players that are released or in like the single figure millions sold on PC, whereas this game was hot. Like it was hot from the minute it came. It was trending, you know, and the numbers may have come down, but it was still in a nice place. You know, it was established, and with their console user base, like they get away with murder anyway. You know, like they'll just bring out a remastering or a small update. You know, like they're in a bit of a drought at the minute, and then they'll do like, oh, there's a free update to God of War Valhalla where there's like a roguelike mode and stuff like that, and little updates like that, and they do bits and pieces for the console user base, but they will learn quickly with the PC side that, especially on the multiplayer front, you know, like they ain't going to get away with what they do in the console space. In the console space, they are Sony, PlayStation, they are top dog, and you know they could get away with certain things. But when you're trying to move up, and it is the right move for them, you know, I see people mocking the fact that they're trying to fluff up their MAU numbers, their monthly active user numbers, and it's like, what's that? The metric that's used these days by Xbox. You know what I mean? Like the metric is no longer hardware unit sales. The metric is people playing your games, you know, and I don't blame them to try and get that PSN connection. The problem was this was midway through the game after launch, and they would have been locking people out, and it was just dumb. I mean, I think keep it going and invest more in games of this ilk than the single player story games, you know what I mean? And try and get another one that hits. And I think that's probably what they're going to do, right? I know they've obviously Marathon's a third party, so when that it's their first party ownership, but it's going everywhere. Bungie. So Bungie, so it'll go everywhere. So it'll be, you know, on Xbox Live, it'll be on Steam, this, that, and the other. But I think Sony should try and make a few more games like this, you know. But yeah, like I say, it's good to see anyway, and it was good to see for the team because Arrowhead were quite, not scathing is the right word, but they were quite open with the community about the situation. They were like, this ain't us. Like this is that's their baby, isn't it? That's their baby that they're seeing, and they're engaging with their community, and they're seeing all the positivity, and then this one move, and then it's like, you know. But it's good. It's good to see that it was there, and then Sony will learn from it. You know, that's the other good thing because everyone always tells you, "Oh, competition is king." Well, Sony are moving into the PC space, and they need to learn these lessons. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's it. It's all good.
Ultimately, like you're right, they're going to learn a lesson. But what is ultimately the lesson for them here? What are they going to take away from this experience?
Get your shit together, day one. So, like with Ghost of Tsushima, it clearly states that if you wish to use the, I can't remember the name of the online component of the game. Legends. If you want to use that, you need a PSN. So there you go straight away. And also what they need to do, which hopefully they are doing, which is going, we need to, because I said it in our Discord, Microsoft have the benefit of being the largest, desktop operating system. So with someone like me, my Xbox account is my same Windows account, like my Microsoft account. So my OneDrive, my Xbox. So if you log in on a fresh install of Windows 11 and you've got an Xbox account associated with it, it automatically logs you into Xbox and you've got all your data there, and Sony need to try and move into other regions, start spreading out, you know what I mean? And because otherwise it will just affect them with Steam, obviously, as you've seen, that they'll start launching games where people ain't got a PSN and they ain't going to be able to play them. So hopefully that's what they learn from it. They broaden their horizons and their footprint across the globe and make more games like Helldivers, I know it's not as easy as that, but change their vision, like instead of the whole single player story driven, get a bit of variety.
You love their single player games now. You've learnt to embrace them. You don't want them to stop.
Nah, I do, because I enjoy it. To be fair, I've not played a lot of Helldivers, but you know what I'm like. Obviously, Forza Horizon. I think the best moments in gaming for me, there's some great story moments like Indica. It'll be something that I'll remember, and there's stories that you play through in these games and remember. But some of the best memories are with friends, having these moments in Helldivers where you airstrike everyone and all die or step on mines and just all jokey stuff, and we want more of that. So hopefully they do.
And Chris, so feel free to take on anything that Darge just said and follow that as well. But question for you, do you think this thing that happened that didn't happen, but this thing that nearly happened, do you think it has a lasting impact on the success of Helldivers? Is this something they can just recover from like it never happened, or is it going to hurt them?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've already largely started to recover. I think a lot of people have kind of done the thank you for reverse, and as I say, they've all kind of, communities all chipped in to undo the bad reviews and stuff. I think it'll make Sony be a little bit cautious. That's what I've heard. They'll be a little bit cautious about dropping things, and I think it won't necessarily stop them from doing it. But what they might do is they may try and launch with it, so you're not kind of undoing that side of things. I think obviously what they need to kind of take into account is, because it's easy in the console space and stuff, they just wouldn't sell products and games in those territories. But in the PC space, you're going basically have this game and you're going, shit, there's 177 countries or whatever out there that can't actually access this game but could buy it if we've got PSN requirements. So they either need to get to the bottom, they need to get to the bottom of sorting PSN requirements out, or they'll have to make everything optional as they move forward and incentivize some stuff. So actually, you've got your trophies and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see how Ghost of Tsushima's handled in terms of, it's got the dashboard, it's got the trophy stuff embedded into it. As I say, not a lot of these are like non-issues for me, because I just tend to hook my account, like my Ubisoft Plus account hooked up to my Xbox and PlayStation, and anywhere where you can do that.
Other question for you, and you might not like have insight on this, or you might, I don't know, but like obviously when you play on a PC or any multiplayer game anywhere, right, it's kind of normal behavior to have to link a service account to it, whatever you're playing. But it's not so normal, or maybe it is, it's not so normal to hear about these like territorial restrictions and these restrictions across countries though. Like Sony aren't smaller than the likes of Ubisoft and EA and Activision and everybody else that has account linking. So why is it such an issue for them specifically, and what does everybody else do to get around it?
So I think the territories that it obviously I think the territories it happens in the PSN is to do with kind of legals, and obviously I think it's almost kind of like having servers available and things like that. So there's certain elements that they've got no control of, because it's obviously country based laws. So I think Sony have always kind of done that thing where they just go, we won't sell anything in those territories. But yeah, it's the learning, other than some of the like Sony online games that they've obviously been used to over the decades. But they'll be navigating that kind of PC space, and the whole thing is to to bring games to PC now because 2 billion players or however many are kind of rumored in that space. And it's almost like everyone's jumping after the PC stuff. And if the certain things that we've heard about Xbox, where they're trying to get like your Steam library on whatever the machine is, moving forward, they're certainly playing a different tactic, aren't they? Where if it's Phil or someone above Phil or whoever it is, they'll actually recreate a hybrid box or recreate a box. We also create a handheld, or we'll create whatever hardware we've got, where you can actually not only get Game Pass, but you can also get your Steam, your Ubisoft, your EA Play, all of these things. It becomes a really compelling market and compelling offering to go, actually be one box and I can access everything I've got. And especially if PlayStation start putting their stuff on Steam, then it's their inroads, isn't it, to go, well, you're accessing PlayStation games, Ubi games, EA games, Microsoft games. So it's a different kind of gaming setup that Xbox are getting into, but they've been in the PC space, whereas Sony, apart from the online games, Sony Online, or Sony Entertainment Online, or whatever the spin-off was, they're now kind of just finding the feet. They've obviously got Nixus, they've got other people to port games over. I think PSVR 2 will go over there, as we've said. They're starting to try that out. Does that mean PSVR games go over there? There's some exclusives. I was saying to Darge earlier, it's mad, like 6 or 7 years ago. Might be a little bit less than that, might be a little bit more. I mean, do you remember when there was all the talk about like the PC gamer was going to be dead, and it was just going to be a positivity machine
Every
and stuff
decade,
like
yeah.
that? It's like completely like reversed and just absolutely kind of it's almost it's annihilating console. And you look at kind of the generations of consoles and forget all the kind of like it's a box and you can just switch it on and it's ease of use and there's no updates and stuff like that. But your PC, so I was playing a PC back in the 90s, early 90s or whatever, and it's like here we are in 2024. We just have a more powerful PC, but it's just continued to to crack on, and you've gone from X-Wing v TIE Fighter on serial link cables and stuff like that to Helldivers 2 with all your mates and stuff. So it's something that you've just got to you have to take notice of, and if these publishers can get their stuff on, the only thing which is really kind of intriguing is obviously Take-Two and the talk of like GTA 6 being console only at the beginning. And that makes sense in the past when there was hundreds of millions of consoles out there. But it's a little bit of a gamble when you're going, there's 60 million PS5s out there and there's half of that on Xboxes. Obviously, you've got PS5 Pro coming out, and by the time GTA 6 comes out, it's going to be 80 million.
You're dying, Chris. Hold up, Chris. Your connection seems to be tanking a bit. Yeah, you've turned into
it is.
And not quite there. But we've just had while you're struggling there, it will come back, I'm sure. But we've had 2 10-month membership chats. We've had Isla said, "Long live Gaming Arcadia." Yes, Isla, it will go for a very long time from here. Because we're having a great time, aren't we? And Pete says, "Gaming Arcadia, brilliant channel, sub now. Join the Discord," with a little like Hypnotoad. Do it now.
Yes,
kind
Pete.
of vibe. But he's right.
Yeah, he is.
Darge, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say one thing that I'd seen online. Obviously, it's a small set. By the way, Chris, you look back now, mate. Anyway, yeah, it's just a small set, but obviously Sony
for some reason. Don't know why.
You might have an issue. There were some people saying that Sony's track records and like with hacks and stuff like that, they was like, oh, fucking, I ain't signing up for a PSN and giving Sony my details, you know, like when they've been hacked a few times. That was another thing that's, but I do believe, obviously, that'd be a very small minority of people, you know what I mean? But, yeah, you know, hopefully they do just expand, you know, their coverage and then just go from there going forward, you know?
For those people, just use a pretty different password and you'll be fine. Like, you're not giving Sony your credit card information.
Yeah, right.
Any platform, like Steam's been hacked a number of times as well. That's just a thing. Just don't give them more information than you want to. I do. The other thing that I find slightly interesting in it is PlayStation on their own platform are notoriously reluctant to give refunds for anything. Their refund policy is so far behind every other platform holder, including Steam. So I imagine it hurt them a little bit when Steam started giving refunds for a game in a way that they never would have done that themselves.
Nah,
so that's a lesson.
They probably thought that because of Valve's like refund policy, they probably thought they were in the clear. And then when Valve was like, I believe it was because they changed the terms of service where PSN was optional at the start, and like Chris said, they put a skip button in and stuff like that. It was an option. Once they then changed it to mandatory, they had then changed the terms of service, which then goes against Valve's thing. So that's why they started justifying refunds, because those were the complaints that were being made. They wouldn't have been able to play the game. Then, like you say, they started approving it, and Sony probably thought, shit, better stop that.
I remember when CD Projekt Red referred people, they said go and get a refund for Cyberpunk, and Sony said, well, we're not selling it then, and took it right off the store.
Yeah,
they do not like refunds.
No, that's right. I forgot about that.
Anyway, Chris, did you? I can't remember at what point you said off, but did you have more that you wanted to add on that before we move on to Hades?
No, I'm not sure where it dropped off, but yeah, my little video connected thing was going down into the red for some reason, but just on a speed test, and I'm getting max speed, so I don't know what's going on.
You look beautiful now, mate.
You do. Right, let's move on to our next topic then, which is a bit of Hades 2. Hades 2, suddenly, without any kind of prior warning, we all knew that Hades was going to drop into early access at some point this year, but come Monday afternoon, they said, it's happened, it's there now, go and play it if you want. And lots of people threatened to buy it for me, because I am very stubbornly, resiliently refusing to play this game in early access. I'm a massive Hades fan, which I don't think either of these two would say for themselves, but I adored the first Hades game and I cannot wait to play the second one, except, speaking more literally, I can definitely wait until we hit version 1 and the thing actually releases. I'm very good at waiting. So I haven't played it yet. I don't think Chris and Darge have played it yet. I want to know why not. Chris, you told me earlier that Hades is not your kind of game. Elaborate.
It's like I obviously played the first one. I quite enjoyed it. Loads of other people were playing it at work, so I wanted to try it. But yeah, I do need to. I was going to say I do need to get it. I've got so many other games to play. I'll wait for it to release. I'll do a you and just say when it releases.
You're not doing a me for the same reasons, though, are you? Because you play No Rest for the Wicked quite happily. You're not like you. Even I would go so far as to say you like and approve of early access. You like the opportunity to give feedback and all the rest of it.
I do enjoy early access. I mean, if it's one of those where we want to chat about it on next week's show, I might grab Hades 2 and have a little look at it anyway. So, and then give you the FOMO.
Yeah,
you can give me the FOMO, but I'm so stubborn. I've already got it because Luke Steele's been playing it as well, and they're all telling me the word is that Hades 2 is already really polished, runs perfectly. You can get 90 frames per second on a Steam Deck if you want to. Like, it's never been pushing technical boundaries. Isn't really Supergiant's thing in that regard anyway, but it's running very well, very polished. The early access page on Steam does say that it's already, in terms of content and voicing and all the rest of it, it's already bigger than the first Hades game. Like, the content that they put out, there is more in there than Hades 1 contained. There is also quite a lot still to come. There are systems and characters and things that are not in there. The ending of the game isn't in there yet. There's a lot of stuff that is not there. And it's got quite a lengthy early access period ahead of it, because they said it's not going to hit version 1 until earliest the end of this year. So I've got the FOMO. Like, I'm sure it's brilliant to play. Everyone tells me it already feels really polished. It feels like an actual game. Darge, I actually don't remember. I don't remember how you feel about Hades, if you played it, if it appeals to you.
Hades, that was when I was in my Xbox phase. Hades went into Game Pass, right?
It did.
Yeah, so I'm just terrible at games like that. And I kept running it, and I remember when I beat the first sort of boss type that you get to, like the female one, after about the 15th go, I got past that. And it is right what you say, like it does reward each time you run, you go back a little bit more powerful, a little bit more powerful. And I got past her and thought, oh, okay, I've cracked it. Got killed, fucking went back. I was like, oh, nah, like this ain't me. But I'm sure if someone took the time to say to me, "No, look, you're doing it wrong, dude. This," I'd probably thingy. But it was a really good-looking game. I remember that, and it was fun. The combat was fun. It's just that roguelike, back to the beginning. That was annoying for me. With regards to the sequel, I'll probably end up buying it for no reason whatsoever, but I'll probably end up getting it. But yeah, someone like yourself, I mean, I know you got your loyalties, you know what I mean? You've been here on the interweb talking and saying, no, I'm going to wait. But I mean, when you're hearing what you're hearing, surely there's no harm in playing it now.
There is definitely the issue that I've got. I'll speak from the heart, really, like maximum humility. I'm a very humble guy. I'm freaking brilliant at Hades, and I will finish it in no time. So it would be a terrible mistake to play it now. I'll bomb through the content that's in there. I'll get to the end of it. I'll be dissatisfied by the ending. I'll wait for 6 months. The game will come out and I'll just have to do it all over again. And you're already doing it all over again in a roguelike. Not that many times for me because brilliant at it, but you're still doing it all over again. I'm going to wait until the end of the year.
What if you see on social media or something, someone's accidentally spoiled the ending of the game for you?
I'm really good at avoiding spoilers. Like I've got this innate capability to just switch my brain off and lose the last 5 seconds of whatever I've read and looked at. I'm assuming anyway because I've never taken a spoiler for like anything.
What if next week when Darge go over the end boss is like an octopus with a American football helmet on?
This is like a test. I know that you haven't got it. At some point, you're going to drop a spoiler and you're going to see this in action. You're going to drop a spoiler mid-podcast and you're just going to see me like sink into my chair as I switch off. And then I'll reboot and like not know the last 10 seconds of conversation. I do not absorb spoilers. It's just, I don't know. They just get bounced off. So I'm going to be fine waiting for Hades.
I spoke about like that Dragons, whatever, when I spoke about Dragons Plague, you got a bit excited about that. I'm like, spoiler, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just shut down. I have to go through the whole rebooting process.
As I just want to respond to Skill and Panache and Chronic in our chat. Skill and Panache has put, Darge Knight, you're a pro gamer now. Hades will be a piece of cake. I'm a pro gamer. I'm not a lunatic. Yeah, I'm not going to sit there banging my head against the wall in a game like Hades. So, no, not for me, that one.
I will say, genuinely, Hades, if you're not good at it, you'll still get through it. It is
that
like
feels like a shot at me because I haven't gone through it.
No, but you would if you persist because it does like it pushes. The power creep is inevitable. You can't avoid getting more powerful. So if you are not very good at it, you will still get through it. It'll just take a long time. Whereas if you're like me,
how
then
much
you'll
is
be
Hades 2 early access?
25 quid. 25 quid.
That's not bad, is it? Really?
And I had to defensively buy it because people kept threatening to buy it for me. Threatening to buy it for me. I didn't want that to happen because I'm not going to play it till launch. I don't want other people wasting their money. So it's there. I'm just not installing it.
You'll do a library share then, Asa, and I'll play it on my ROG Ally and report on it next week.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I would. I'll get it. I'll get Hades one now because now you've said if you keep going, I'd fucking you're in my head now. I'd end up going back. It's not in. I've got it on Steam as well. Yeah, it's all right. I'll have another go.
You've seen my review of it, haven't you? You know how much I love the first Hades. So.
Yeah, I know how much you love it, but I know like it's good because you love something doesn't mean Asa loves it. I'm gonna keep fucking banging my head against this wall. You know what I mean? I'm just not built like that.
Yeah,
but I'll have another go.
Fair enough. Well, that's Hades 2, so we haven't played it yet. Some of you have. Luke's played it a bunch and says it's sublime. I can't remember his exact words, but he's played it for a couple of hours and absolutely loves it. Says Hades 2 has a good power creep like the first one. Yeah, and he suggested No Rest for the Wicked as well. So all of the early access games.
If Darge wants to be brutalised, he should play No Rest for the Wicked.
I know, and I've already got it. I'll just buy games like so. Satama he's like the devil on my shoulder. That boy. He's like I don't see him a lot nowadays, like because he's doing like a night shift thing that he works. So he's like more socializes with Tony more than anyone. But he came in Friday. He's like, "Oh, Darge." The next thing I know, I'm installing Star Citizen. I'm like, "What's happened?" Like this geezer just plants a seed in my ear hole. And then I'm on the store and it's like, buy your first starter ship for £55. Well, I ain't that fucking mad. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to wait for the free weekend of Star Citizen. But yeah, I'm just really weak. I'm really weak.
Right, good. Let's move on to our next topic.
You're like kids and your missus are just eating beans because you're
I
spending all
I
the
won't
money
have
on
fucking,
games.
won't have fucking beans in this house, mate. I'm telling you now.
Bit drastic.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't
What if
like
your kids love beans?
He doesn't like a wet
Well, they can
food.
go outside.
Him and my brother have spoken about wet food. It's really
Yeah,
bizarre.
I don't do wet food. I don't do wet food.
Not even like curry and stuff.
Yeah, but not like wet tomato sauce food. Like I don't
Doesn't do
beans
wet
and
food, but has gravy, pies,
yeah.
all
What?
the curries. But they're wet food, aren't
Why is it every week I get dug out on it? Every week there's something to dig me out about.
Because you got bizarre tendencies.
I have, but I'm a troubled man. You know my history, so you know.
Are you
Cut
a
me
roofer
out.
as well, by any chance? Or?
I'm a roofer. I don't like to keep on about it though.
Just paint that behind you on the wall in the living room. I'm a roofer, and then you won't need to say it.
I might hang a photo
You're
on
the
this
roofer, not
side
a painter, Chris.
of me on the roof.
You can do it in lead work.
Yeah. Right, what's next, Asa?
What's next is, stop laughing straight faces because it's a sad bit. We're going to talk about what's going on with Xbox today. Because again, out of the blue. So on Monday, we had completely out of the blue, Hades 2 launched. Everyone celebrated. It was great news. Today's Tuesday, and out of the blue, Xbox got rid of 4 of their studios. 4 of Bethesda's studios got cold today, or announced today that they were being let go. And they're not... I mean, obviously you're not happy when studios go, but these are studios that had quite a lot of affection for them, particularly Tango Gameworks are one of the ones that have gone. So the creators of Hi-Fi Rush, which is Xbox's like only really critically successful new IP for a long time. Tango Gameworks released that. They released the PlayStation version as well. And then they got cut off. They're also the studio that was responsible for the Evil Within games 1 and 2, although they're Shinji Mikami, the creator of those games, did leave a little while ago. They also got rid of Arcane Austin, known for Prey and for Redfall. I don't think too many people are disappointed that we're not going to get more Redfall, but the studio did have decent pedigree behind them prior to that little disaster. And they got rid of Alpha Dog and Roadhouse. Alpha Dog made Mighty Doom, which if you're into mobile games was actually supposed to be a really quite fun little thing. I didn't play it. I think it was included in the Netflix subscription at one point, which meant that you could play a version of it that didn't have any of the microtransactions and crap like that. It was just like a proper little game. So actually Mighty Doom was fairly appealing to me if I ever did want to play on a mobile. And what did I say the other one was? Roadhouse. So Roadhouse is I don't think they'd actually released the game as Roadhouse, but they released the original Prey as Human Head. And then Human Head struggled to hit financial difficulties. Their sequel to Prey was cancelled, and Bethesda took in all of the staff, like the studio in its entirety, under the name of Roadhouse. That was in 2019, I think, and they also got closed. So 4 studios gone. Bad news everywhere as far as Xbox are going. Obviously a massive, like, probably overreaction, but very negative reaction across social media and stuff like that. Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Say whatever you want on this topic.
I mean, obviously, like you just said, to echo the fact that it's always shit when people get laid off and stuff like that. But obviously, being a business owner, I'm glad Darge isn't here because he would have probably just gone flex or whatever. But it's not a flex. It's just, I've got a business side of things, and obviously, I've been in the games industry and worked with Sony. Like these things happen. I think the issue is no one really knows what's going on inside Microsoft. The big issue at the moment is the console industry, like the video games industry and the console space is in a really bad state at the minute, and it's still a huge knock-on effect from like COVID and missed deadlines, obviously technology issues with hardware, um, even across like the motor industry and things like that. You know, electronic cars are being affected by wiring looms that are made in the Ukraine. You see kind of the US building their own like chip manufacturers, like BMW and other
Mhm.
people have created kind of electronic wire and loom companies, and warehouses, factories and stuff in like Mexico and stuff like that. So there's certain industries which are being really kind of hammered. Um, and I think, you know, one of the other thing I was saying to Darge earlier, you know, one of the things that no one really knows is some of these studios may have been, you know, eyed up for closure anyway. You know, when Activision, um, and obviously Bethesda and stuff. Sorry, so some of these studios could have been eyed up for closure because something's not being done, they're not performing. Um, I think we were talking earlier, and Hi-Fi Rush did 12 million turnover, but that's just turnover. So it could have cost 40 million to make the game, or 50 million or something. Obviously, the head, as you say, Joey'd left a good few months ago. So was there a bit of writing on the wall? Was like Hi-Fi Rush was already planned for Xbox, already planned for PlayStation, and then you look as an organisation, you sit down and you go, what's in the roadmap? And if there's nothing in the roadmap, and it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years of concepting, or well, that's tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds being spent. And you look across the catalogue, and sometimes like headcount needs to be reduced. It needs to be reduced for business needs. It needs to be reduced to get rid of some dead wood. Um, there could be kind of work-related issues going on, and then you kind of try and cherry pick the really good individuals and move them around the organisations. Um, but I just think a lot of like the hot takes on Twitter. I mean, you've got people, you know, it's like, you know, Jeff Keighley's like gone out of his way to retweet the news, and it's like, but the guy was fucking silent as anything when Sony closed a load of their studios a few months ago.
He wasn't
Um,
here.
and there's just like a lot of hot takes going on Twitter, and there's a lot of people, oh, Phil needs to step down now. And, you know, Mikey Barr has had to come out and gone, actually,
Yeah.
I know Phil, you know, he is a gamer, this will be hurting him and stuff like that. But, you know, sometimes there's people above you. There's shareholders, there's board members who make some of these calls. And if the powers that be sat down and go, right, Phil, show me your financials. Like Phil, Sarah, Matt, whoever, show us your financials from all your studios. Oh, actually, we've just lost $800 million on these studios, and you want to carry on running them? Have you got any games coming out? Have you got um so you end up starting to make, you know, hard decisions in the same way that in the 14 years I was at Sony, every single year they laid off people in Studio Liverpool or
Mhm.
kind of a London studio, or every single year. So you had to sit there and go, is it my time? Is it my time? And by the end, and when Studio Liverpool got closed down, we were just in a conceptual cycle for a couple of years. We weren't making any money. And as soon as you get into that kind of cycle, when the axe is coming, so they're going to look and go, oh, actually, yeah, so Insomniac have made some money, and Evo have made some money, and London Studio have made some money. Actually, Studio Liverpool have not been doing anything, and we're burning, you know, tens of millions of pounds running that studio and getting concepts which aren't getting greenlit. Let's just close it, and we may get some spin-offs, and we may be able to support some of those spin-offs, but actually we're not worried about the PAYE. We're not worried about all the kind of ancillary costs to the staffing. Um,
Mhm.
so it is shit, but there's no one having an outcry when, like, Amazon have laid off nearly 17,000 people in the US alone this year. Like, I've
Yeah.
not seen anyone moan about Amazon. It's like
Mm.
Tesla laid people off. So Elon Musk came in and just absolutely annihilated Twitter. Um,
Mhm.
like in the UK, like Tata Steel, the UK could lose its like steel industry because that's being closed down. I bet you not a single person even knows that. So there's a lot of like emotive things going on because it's like their favorite box of choice, or everyone's kind of thinking the world's this big like happy place, and a $1 trillion company. Oh, but they're $1 trillion company, so they can carry on giving us games for free, or they can carry on just bankrolling studios and stuff like that. But it's like I was saying to episode 13 earlier. So if you took your car in for a service and you went to pick your car up and it had no wheels on, and they'd like taken the engine out and put fucking, I don't know, like a fucking elastic band engine in it and stuff like that, you wouldn't go, oh yeah, do you know what? I'll just let you do my next service as well, even though you've completely and utterly fucked it up. You'd go, I'm going to go elsewhere, or like you're not touching it again. And unfortunately, and I was one of the people who really wanted Redfall to be good. It was a bag of shit. It was an absolute bag of shit. And I love Arcane, and I love Prey, and I love Dishonored from Arcane, Leon. But it was just terrible. And we were talking with like Chronic earlier and stuff like that. And it just played weird. It just had like a little delay in the controls. It just didn't even. It just there's something weird about it where you go from like that slick gameplay of Prey and Dishonored and stuff like that to Redfall. And even like the story, which could have been really compelling, wasn't, and the world was like empty. And so
Shit, innit?
me,
Well,
Darge,
the only
and my
thing,
brother played like co-op in it, and it was just like the encounters were like shit.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was,
they were.
just
The only
woeful.
thing, Tango Gameworks though, and Hi-Fi Rush in particular. You mentioned the turnover there being like, I can't remember what you said, 12, 14 million or whatever. It's difficult because a big portion of that turnover is a made-up number for Microsoft, just because the game is in Game Pass. So obviously, like somewhere along the way, they're attributing a certain amount of money for the people that actually bother to download and play it on Game Pass, and saying this much counts as turnover, and trying to factor in like whether this game actually added value and added subscribers to the service. And from the outside, when you look in, you think like variety is really important if they want to grow the audience, and Tango Gameworks offered variety because they were not like any other studio that Microsoft has. So you can look at that and go, like, without looking at the spreadsheets, it feels like a mistake, because you've also got you look at Hi-Fi Rush, and it was like unequivocally really well polished. It was a good release. It was well received by critics. You'd have to say whether you liked it. Yeah, well, apart from the Shadows being better on PlayStation and all that stuff, whatever. But it's like, it's a good and talented studio. So surely as the publisher, Microsoft's like duty as such would be to put those developers to good use ahead of cutting them off.
Well, I agree, but playing devil's advocate, what if Microsoft went, Hi-Fi Rush was brilliant, so crack on with Hi-Fi Rush 2, and they went, we don't want to make Hi-Fi Rush 2. What if like the studio turns around and go, we want to make some off-the-wall carnage roofing simulator, or we want to make, we want to make some like, we want to go back to horror, or something like, why? Why did the originator leave?
That's the thing.
Darge just got his take of like,
and did he take a load of people with him? Yeah,
and stuff.
I got like,
why did he want to leave?
Yeah, like Shinji Mikami. Like, you got to remember when Microsoft made the ZeniMax acquisition, Tango were a part of that, and obviously we all know that Xbox wanted to get a foot in the door in Japan. And Shinji Mikami's a big name, a well-known name, and he was there. Yeah, and he probably come over and then went, I'm off. Yeah, like, because he's spoken in interviews after. We spoke earlier, Asa, about it as well, and he came out and said, like, Tango, when he started Tango, they were actually like in trouble, and then they got purchased by ZeniMax. And I think they'd made The Evil Within, and then when they went to ZeniMax, they started making The Evil Within 2. So then they're financially secure. So he's already been weighed out from the acquisition, right, from ZeniMax. And then in this interview he did after leaving, Xbox, he said he had made the decision to leave a good few years ago, yeah, but he sort of stuck around. So I think what happened is he probably stuck around for Evil Within 2. Then they started doing Ghostwire. and he was still around, but he was already going. And then obviously that guy, the American guy, I forget his name now. Is it John Jonason or something? Like the main Janus, yeah, the guy you were seeing for Hi-Fi Rush. Mikami was going, oh, this is his game. Like, he's dealt with this. So even though he was still the face of the company, he was probably hands off at this point. Xbox then bought, obviously, ZeniMax. They got them in, and he's like, well, I'm off. Like, after, I'll be the face for our first game that's coming out from Tango, and I'll just hand it over to Jonas, because he's done the work, but I'm out the door. Yeah. And then, so they've lost the face, like the top developer from Japan in Mikami. He's off, he's gone. Yeah.
Unlikely taking his friends with him, yeah.
He's took people, because he already started linking up with the other guy. I've forgotten the other guy's name, and they was talking about collaborating together. But like I say, so Hi-Fi Rush was a success story. You know, it's a shadow drop, and it done really, really well and that. But then, you know, Phil or Matt Booty or whoever might have gone to Tango. Right, what's happening next then? And they'd have gone, don't know. And there's no Mikami. You know, like I'm saying, like, even though they said they wanted to get into Japan and this, that, and the other, that wouldn't be the deciding factor on closing them down. You know what I mean? And also, like, you have to remind people as well, like, there's certain people in certain circles who think because Microsoft are the wealthiest company in the world, that they can just afford to keep lights on everywhere, you know, and they ain't going to do that, because to get to where they've got to, they make the tough decisions. They make the tough calls. As horrible as it is to sit here and go, oh, it's sad, devs studios closed and people are out of work, and it is sad. You know, and I see like these fucking, oh, if you need any help, get in touch, you know, from influencers, you know what I mean, who like fucking don't know what they're going to do, but, you know, they're doing their little sympathy ones. If you're going to back Microsoft and Xbox, and now, like I said earlier on Twitter, the thing was, I've said it on here, when Satya Nadella's coming out and going, we're all in on gaming, that's a worry, yeah, because what comes with that is a massive checkbook with £80 billion investments in buying up two of the biggest Western publishers in video games today. But the other side of that is you got people to answer to. Xbox was run on its own as a sub fucking division of Microsoft. This is known, yeah. It was like it was just running on itself. Yeah, and then they nearly pulled the plug on it when Don Matrick had a fucking mare with the Xbox One. Bill turned the ship around, came up with Game Pass, gave management at Microsoft a glimpse of what could be possible and the gaming industry, where it was going, PC, day and date, this, that, and the other. And Phil turned all that around, yeah. But now Microsoft are fully on board. Don't be surprised if ruthless decisions are taken, because that's just how they get to where they get to in the world. You can't support the biggest player in the world, yeah. And then when they make them big calls, go, whoa, you're out of order. Like I said to Chris earlier, you know, when ZeniMax was getting signed off, when Activision was getting signed off, they're all dancing in the street. Whoa, we made it. £70 billion Activision deal. There was going to be some axe swinging for that, because like I know, like the conversation that was going around was, oh, Microsoft have just got that down the back of the sofa. They might well have, yeah, but they ain't just throwing that out there and going, yeah, Phil, there's £70 billion. Don't worry about any return on it. Don't worry about that investment bearing any fruit. Like, do you know what I mean? So it is what it is.
But you kind of touched on the elephant in the room there, though, which is the Activision Blizzard King thing. So Microsoft went to acquire ABK when things were booming, when COVID was in flow, the industry was growing, and everybody was trying to hire as many people as they could and build and expand as much as they could. They closed that deal when that wasn't the case anymore, and everybody was trying to trim fat and get rid of people all over the place. The elephant in the room is whether things would be better for Tango Gameworks, for Arcane Austin, for those four studios right now, if the ABK deal had not gone through. So if Microsoft hadn't taken on this massive influx of people, would they have handled these studios any differently? Would the industry like overall be in a better place if that hadn't gone through? And obviously we don't know the answer, because we can't hit a parallel timeline where that deal didn't happen. But
But if you look at the other side of it,
Darge.
like since Activision Blizzard have come in, obviously Toys for Bob have gone off on their own. Yeah, all right, they've entered the deal. Yeah, but there's something on that side that's changed. Yeah, Tango, we don't know the situation with Tango. As harsh as it be for me to say, Arcane Austin, I know Prey. I've played Prey, and I know that a lot of people is well regarded. But like me and Chris had a conversation on the phone earlier, there is a difference between a critical success and a commercial success. Yeah, and I don't know if Prey was a commercial success. I know it was well regarded. Yeah, Redfall was an absolute mare. Yeah, and if you remember rightly, obviously Pete Irons was still there then. Everyone was singing and dancing about Redfall. This Redfall that's coming, you know, bite back, get ready, it's coming. Yeah, they flew it, influencers out there, made them play it on PCs. They come back, done their reporting, you know, and whatever else. And that game that launched was carnage. Like that is from any like first party studio or even big third party publishers. Even if Bethesda was still on their own and released that, that would have got slated bad. Like it was just a dead game on launch, and who knows? Like there may have been decisions behind it. It's not like as if they just go, "Don't like the look of you, you can go now." Like, see you later. Like,
yeah, there's always fat trimming, isn't there? And the thing is, if you kind of you hit your, as an organisation, you hit your ceiling, and you go, actually, we want to bring in whatever, for argument's sake, we want to bring in 5,000 new developers. You don't just fucking add that to the that to the staff list. You look around the organisation and go, who's had warnings, written and verbal, who's not doing a good job, who's coming in late, who's phoning in sick, who's in the 6 monthly reviews or whatever, being told that they're not good enough or they need to improve and all these things. And you look around and you go, actually, what we want to do is, Unreal Engine 5 is out. It's at 5.3 or whatever it's on. We want to put some more bods in Coalition. Actually, what we want to do is we want to get rid of some of those studios that aren't earning the money. We need to trim the fat and then re-expand the team in other areas and stuff like that. So I think, to your question before, Asa, I think some of that probably would have happened regardless of Activision. We obviously know that the whole Activision Blizzard King acquisition was really for King and was for Call of Duty. And they got some bonus, obviously Diablo potentially and stuff, but you get some bonus studios and stuff like that. And you kind of look, and even like The Last Evil Within, I think that had like a 14 million turnover. That's not going to run that studio. So Joe would have taken 3 or 4 years or whatever to build that.
I see a lot of the devs. I was going to say, I see a lot of the devs coming out just saying, like, like as if to say Microsoft are chasing this monetized live service sort of dream, and that's the MO. I don't think it's that. Like Chris just alluded to there. I think if you're an Xbox fan, and I'm an Xbox fan, you know what I mean? Like I want everyone to deliver me great games, you know what I mean? But if you're celebrating every time there's an acquisition, you can't. It's bipolar. You can't cry every time there's a laugh. They can't, they're not just going to willingly keep people around if they're of no benefit to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, as ruthless as that sounds to say, because we're talking about people's jobs. But again, Microsoft are where they are today because they don't feel that. Like, they'll just call it. Like, and this is how it is, What do you make, Asa?
I was just going to say for me the numbers aren't going to change as a result of like ABK coming in doesn't change the equation in terms of how much money Tango are or aren't making, right? So you start looking at it and studying the cost of the games and the money that they're making and making the same decisions. But I think it probably does like exacerbate the pressure to some degree because we know that they need to hit these growth figures for their shareholders and all the rest of it. And Activision Blizzard King in the immediate term works against that. They lost money for the sake of this acquisition, which increases the pressure to make those cuts. So it's impossible to look into another timeline and see how things would or wouldn't be different. But they might be. Like it does add pressure to cut costs more than they might have done otherwise, which is kind of brutal. Like it's no help to the people that are gone. But it could be part of what's happening there. And it is all very sad, especially for me personally. I talk about Tango a lot because like being the one Japanese studio, that does set them culturally, it sets them apart from the rest of Xbox game studios, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard King, and all the rest of it. And to me, that's that can be where some of the best games come from, by having these cultural differences, which is it's kind of akin to when Sony shut down Sony Japan, and you lost the likes of Gravity Rush in favor of Sad Dad simulators, and it is kind of like accepted criticism that was a loss for us as people, as gamers. That was sad to see, even if it financially makes sense for the businesses that are running these studios. So definitely don't take it as any kind of good news. Would have liked to have seen what these studios were doing next, but obviously I'm not saying anybody's taking it as good news, because of course there's nothing good about it in that sense. Do you think, Darge, that this signals any changes at Microsoft? Do they just plow forwards with what they're doing, or are things changing over there?
Do you know what? Like Xbox, I know in our Discord I speak quite negatively of them, but that's because I was fucking balls deep in Xbox, a few years back, and they disappoint, and I just can't predict what they're going to do anymore. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the layoffs come as a surprise for me, because I just didn't expect it. Like I said, I see some tweets. Kev, little Kev in our Discord, he shared a tweet. Yesterday, Sarah Bond's tweeting a logo of the Xbox saying like Activision, Xbox, Bethesda, all this, and we're all together as a family. And you're like, that's 24 hours after the axe is going to swing. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm pretty, but I mean, Jonas, like, I see his tweet and he was like, so this is how it ends. And he's like, did you not know? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was
They wouldn't have known. They wouldn't have known.
Nah, this is what I'm saying. So Sarah Bond, the
you
savior.
Find out on the day.
Yeah, well, there you go. But what I'm saying is, they're Xbox are carnage. She's tweeting that out 24 hours before 4 studios are getting closed down, which, like it or not, is as bad. It's not as bad as Jim Ryan physically being at the studio the week before he knew it had shut down, but it's still bad taste. Yeah. And then another thing that made me laugh as well was the boys were sharing Xbox announced a new Fire controller today on the day of like firing 4 studios, and it's like, fucking hell, like even I know, like, have a little bit of decency around it, you know what I mean? But
nice controller though.
It's a lovely controller, it really is. But I really don't know what to make of Xbox. I know that obviously, I think, are we going to touch on the showcase briefly, or do you want to do that nearer the time? No, all right. Well,
Maybe I'll touch upon the 2029 showcase.
Obviously, we know. Obviously, we know what they've got coming. But as for the future,
a lot coming there, right? They've still got a massive pipeline of games and a load of studios working.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
And
but
everyone's getting super emotional and stuff, and obviously they've come out and said the next console is going to be the biggest hardware leap. Just talk of getting other libraries on there, as we've said. So
I expect them to talk.
You've got to invest the money somewhere, haven't you?
I expect them to talk. Well, apparently, I think I see something where Sarah Bond did say they will be talking about it this summer, more on hardware. Whether or not that's the White Series X, whether or not that's the handheld, rumoured, or whether or not they'll talk more about that next-gen system, But like I say, I ain't got a clue.
You hit the nail on the head. The way you said it's like a lot of these decisions were all like pre-COVID, like in the industry as a whole. Remember, like a couple of years ago, people were talking about how Embracer were going to buy the industry. Embracer have got a limited amount of money; they're going to buy the industry, and they started opening studios in Liverpool and all kinds of shit, buying Tomb Raider, buying all of this stuff, or they're gonna like buy fucking Amazon, or they're gonna buy. So there was all this mad talk of Embracer. We're just gonna buy everyone. They're gonna buy Sony. They're gonna buy, and it's like they've turned around now and canned a load of stuff, laid a load of studios off, gone because the industry has changed. It's like I was saying to Darge earlier, and some of the guys in Discord. So I'm speaking to people who actually put like all of these bellends on Twitter who go, Phil should be gone, or fucking, oh, he needs to hand his fucking thing in. Are they putting $20 and $30 million into companies? Because no, they're fucking not. But there's
No.
people I'm speaking to who've invested in the games industry for decades now and put like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they've backed away from the games industry and gone, we're not putting any fucking money into this
You're just
because
talking
it's
about my Steam
volatile.
library there.
No one knows what's going on. Yeah, no one knows what's going on.
That's the
And it's a gamble now. It's like a really big gamble. And you look at where all these like private equity houses and all these other organizations are looking, they've moved over to like big tech industry. So they're buying IP and they're buying tech and they're buying tech companies and stuff like that. None of these are games companies. They're not interested in games companies. Because it is volatile and things are costing where you could like fund something for 10 million quid and probably get a really successful mobile game, for example, which could give you a 500 million return or $1 billion return or something like that. It's now going to cost them 300 million or something, and they just haven't got the appetite for it.
Question though, because like as an audience that plays the games, that's not where the volatility comes from, is it? Because the gaming audience, part of the problem is that it is very static. It's not changing very much. There was an uptick when COVID happened, and it all shrunk back to pre-COVID levels afterwards. But typically, like apart from people dying and stuff and having different habits as they come up, the audience is relatively stable. So where's all the volatility coming from?
The volatility has come from the fact that like things just got massively delayed. The volatility is coming from potentially what's going to happen in the future. So, like some of these investors and stuff are looking at, are China going to invade Taiwan? So if they do, then our chip manufacturing's fucked. So that's why, like Microsoft and American companies have started building chip manufacturing factories in the US for the first time ever. They're starting to like, have like ARM factories and all these other things in. So there's volatility across the board. A hell of a lot of developers and stuff are over in Ukraine, as like Darge touched upon before. A lot of actually just tech programmers, web developers, app developers, you name it, were over in Ukraine and we're supporting like really good studios, really good, talented, like third-party external studios that you could just get a PM to run, give them a spec, and they build and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff is going on. A lot of stuff's happened. A lot of stuff is a bit up in the air, and stuff is just super expensive.
And to be fair, the what I said there about the audience being quite static, though, that's if anything, it's not a positive in terms of investment, is it? Because nobody's looking to invest in static, so. Maybe the volatility doesn't come from there, but definitely problems do.
That's why mobiles. Yeah, that's why mobiles take it on. So, obviously, to move slightly into like the boring side of gaming for some, but I read this report on like Monopoly Go. So Monopoly Go, it's made by a company called Scopely. They've obviously done Yahtzee and stuff in the past. So I think they got the kind of Monopoly license for a decent price or whatever. And obviously, in the first year, they did $1 billion. They did over $1 billion, just over $1 billion for a mobile game. But when you start digging into like the cost per acquisition for a player, the cost per acquisition for a player is about, at one point, it was about $40, $50. So that's like a mixture of giving away like in-app purchases, so like giving them, incentives. It's also like the marketing and stuff. So Scopely spent $500 million, $500 million just marketing Monopoly Go. Like, insane numbers to get 1 billion. Do you know? And then obviously the cost per acquisition as players have started to drop off now has gone up to like $60 or whatever, which is madness for like a mobile game. So, and it started off as low as like $6 and things like that. So you just look and you go, well, that's a mobile game which isn't very sophisticated. Obviously, a nice little graphics engine. You know, they could either be using Unity or something else or their own. Nice little graphics engine. Obviously, a load of customer support and a few updates, but there's no major updates. There's nothing which feels like DLC of a game or anything like that. So that's the thing you're contending with, like the successful mobile market, which is kind of printing money. And then you're looking at the console space. I think it'd be a different kettle of fish if there was like 150 million consoles out there or whatever. Sony are not used to having 60 million consoles out there. They are not used to it at all. And that's obviously hurting them. Obviously, Sony's first party delivery is dry. And we're getting obviously remakes and remakes of remakes and stuff like that. And then Sony have gone and closed a load of studios as well to reduce the headcount and trim a bit of fat and whatnot.
It's
just a tricky market, and if you've got no PE houses going, let's support the kind of smaller studios, or I'm not talking about like indies and stuff. There's a bit of indie support, but inevitably they turn into a successful studio that gets acquired by a publisher or whatever. But also those PE houses will be putting money into like Microsoft or Sony to fund games internally in terms of investment and shares and things like that. So it's just a really tricky situation at the moment.
Yeah.
I think,
who knows when it's going to better itself.
Yeah.
Like just hearing that real side of it, that the industry is looking at things like cost of user acquisition as a metric that they measure, and of course they are, and it makes all kinds of sense. But it's the kind of stuff that I don't like to look at. I'd much rather talk about how much fun Hades 2 is if I'd played it. But it's quite interesting to just like get that little look under the hood at how the industry is working and how they're making these decisions.
Yeah, we all, and obviously we all just want to like play games. Like you guys, away from gaming arcades and stuff like that, you guys know what my business is all about and the stuff that we're trying to achieve and stuff. So that's why I'm really kind of into that side of things. But imagine if like the three of us made a gaming studio and then turned around and went, actually, we're going to have to spend 500 million to make a billion. We'd go, fucking hell, yeah, let's do that. Let's go. We guarantee we're going to make a billion. Give us 500 million and we'll get all that money in. Imagine going, actually, we don't know how much we're going to have to spend to make a million or to make 10 million. And then before you know it, you've spent 500 million, but you've only done 30 million. I mean, you're screwed. And some of even though they're part of like the bigger picture, some of these like studios across the board in Xbox and PlayStation and Embracer or whatever may well have underachieved massively. And at some point you've got to go, shit, we can't just keep funding this. And it's really bad for people who lose the job. But it's the same if like fucking the Royal Mail lay people off, or DHL, or another industry, but no one really gives a shit because they go, it's just someone who delivers parcels or whatever it is.
What it is, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. The attitude is, layoffs happen. Like I say, like Chris done a really good job there of explaining it all. But with regards to volatility, COVID was unprecedented. Everyone spent a lot of time indoors. The gaming industry probably had the biggest boost it will ever have, unless something else happens like that again, where it went from that to that, like very quickly. And like you say, with investors, what's trending right now? Where's the best money to invest? Video gaming. Everyone's indoors. Yeah, all right, bosh, get it in there. Get it in there, and then all of a sudden, everyone's back out again. Fucking comes back down to normal levels, or lesser. Someone put in the chat there earlier, Nvidia are up 400% or something. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because also what you've seen is people are now changing over to PC, which is pushing Nvidia up. So that's trending.
Nvidia. It's not their graphics cards, it's their AI
as well.
But yeah.
Oh, well, they want to the chip side, on the software side as well. You got that as well. But it's always, like Chris says, it's ever changing, up down. But the games industry went from that to that like overnight. It felt like.
That's crashed and burned and exploded, Darge. Tell me, paint me a nice little picture of the future. Inspire everybody by telling us how it's going to settle and everything's going to be brilliant and we're going to get the best games we've ever played.
I think it'd be fun. I think like once the dust is settled, which is still set. Well, it's not even settling. It's getting down. Like, you know what I mean?
To come, yeah.
They're evaluating. Like, obviously, Sony have closed a few. The thing is, like, Sony closed studios. But then Sony have only got like 2 handfuls or whatever they got. Microsoft over the last few years have fucking just like bought loads. Obviously, they're going to look like the worst offender because they've got more at random. But they're only doing what Sony's doing, but they're just on a larger scale, you know. But I think once the dust has settled, it'll go again and everything will be fine. Like, you know what I mean? These console boxes, I mean, if it was that worrisome, I wouldn't be hearing things like the biggest like hardware leap and things like that. They'd just keep it bare basic. Go, these Xbox guys don't mind 30 FPS. I'll tell you what, don't push the boat out on the hardware. Just give them another 30 FPS.
That's definitely not what I say out loud, but yeah.
No, but I'm saying, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's all right. They'll suffer it, you know. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It will still continue. And like you say, obviously investments are being made in cloud and mobile. And if that comes eventually on more mainstream, it'll be much later down the line. So everything will be all right. This is all just a repercussion of COVID, I reckon. But then I'm not a business analyst.
Microsoft have thrown too much money in to pull back too far, so we're going to keep getting games for them for the foreseeable future. Yeah. Patrick has just gifted 5 YouTube memberships, which means all of you people that got those. Patrick is an absolute legend, and it is much appreciated as always. Patrick, all you people that have got that have access to our wonderful Discord that we keep talking about. So do hit the link that's in the video description, get yourself set up on there, and come and talk to us when we're not online as well. So let's move on to. Oh, go on, Dash.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
So let's move on to our questions because we've hit our kind of time. So we've got a few questions from the community as we do every week. First one is up already. Thank you, Isla. It's episode 13. Question 1: do you think the gaming community still has power, as shown with the Helldivers 2 backtrack after the community backlash? It seems they do, which I think is a good thing. No, episode 13. They're powerless. And it's really rare that they actually like come together in a way that is impactful enough to make any kind of difference. And typically it is when they start hitting the bottom line. So examples like Cyberpunk getting taken off of Sony's store, that was a result of the bottom line getting hit. Helldivers 2, it's not because people were whining on Twitter, it's because there were refunds, there was demand, it was hurting their bottom line. So of course the consumer's always got some degree of power. We have to have, otherwise how does this thing work? Chris, do we have power? Do you feel powerful?
I think we touched upon it earlier, didn't we? So I think certainly Sony like positive reviews, so that started kind of hitting them. And as you say, they start hitting your bottom line, starts affecting your sales. And I think the other thing as well is Arrowhead were quite vocal about it not being them, and so yeah, I mean, good on them for pooling together. And as we said earlier, we think we do started like righting the ship by putting positive reviews back up because they've reversed the decision and stuff. But it certainly gives Sony something to think about as they release stuff on PC moving forward.
Ultimately, episode 13, you do have power. You can go up to any of these publishers. You can say, the Darge Knight offer YouTube, and they'll bend to your will. Yeah. Isn't that right, Darge?
Usually you don't even have to finish the sentence, and you get what you want. But yeah, well, there is power in it. Like you both touched on. Like at the end of the day, the only real power is financial. Do you know what I mean? Like if you start affecting them financially, there's a lot of threatening. There's a lot of flexing, you know what I mean? Fear mongering. We see it all on social media, but when it actually comes down to it, it's just a lot of hot air. No one really does anything, do they?
I think the other thing as well, that's Sony. Sorry, the other thing Sony weren't expecting was Steam to
Yeah, I
sit
think
in
if
and go,
Steam,
it's our platform, we'll fucking refund what we want. And Sony were trying
yeah,
to block those refunds and got their
yeah,
eyes wiped massively.
that's what I think was the big shocker. I think Sony would have quite happily got lasered, you know, for people being locked out of their game, and then they could go, oh well, it was in the terms of service. Like, even though they changed it, I think the fact that Valve went, now bollocks, you're out of order, and we're going to issue these refunds. They were like, oh fuck, you know. But like we said earlier, hopefully they learn now, you know. But yeah, you know, people do have a bit of power. You got your voice, but just rein it in a little bit. Don't think you're going to change the fucking world, because you ain't, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but you ain't. I'm just
You
going to
Shout
keep
as
it
loud
real
as you
with
can for whatever you want
I
all
ain't
the
gonna
time.
say-
Maximum volume.
I'm not going to tell you you're going to change the world. All right, so just enjoy yourself and calm down.
Right. Let's do the next one. Mr. 001 has asked, the consensus that I've been hearing for years is that there are too many games, along with a global recession. Do you feel that this is also affecting these layoffs? Will less games help? Well, partly. Like, there is too much content, and the way to reduce that is getting rid of people. It's not... it's a really difficult one, because the industry is massively struggling with the fact that a few tentpole games hog so much engagement. Your Fortnite, your Roblox, your whatever else. But it's a difficult one to fix. So I don't know. What do you reckon, Chris?
I don't know. It's a good point. Obviously, there's always been shed loads of content on PC and Steam and things like that, hasn't there? But I think, you know, mainstream games. Yeah, I think your point is good. There's just a lot of Fortnite, Minecraft, FIFA, COD, and those type of things being played.
Yeah.
Which obviously reduces people trying other stuff.
Mm.
I think the other thing as well is, I think, parents are probably getting a little bit twitchy when you're starting to, have to pay 500 quid, 600 quid, whatever, however much the PS5 Pro is going to be. I mean, that's just going to be people like us in the Discord and stuff getting those machines. It's not going to be like little Timmy or whatever going, Mum and Dad can have a PS5 Pro when I've got a PS5 or whatever.
Five
You
and a half,
can
six.
for those better, frame time pacing. So I think the big litmus test and the interesting thing will be, how well does Sony sell the PS5 Pro when it comes out, and what impact does it have on dev, if anything? Because obviously we've touched upon these kind of like different hardware SKUs and stuff, being targets that Microsoft have to kind of support, the S, the X, a handheld in the PC world, a high-end PC in the PC world, the low end and stuff like that. Whereas Sony have kind of got this like one dedicated piece of hardware that you kind of aim for, ignoring the kind of PC ports. But it'll be interesting to see if have people got the appetite to buy it other than the enthusiasts. And
it is a
what
really
does it do?
difficult one, because there's a certain amount of consumer spend on the table that gaming execs have learned is not particularly flexible. Like they thought that it was. They thought they could hit this 2 billion people and all the rest of it, but there's only a certain amount of spend. And a lot of people talk about this need to like make AA games instead of AAA. Like the industry needs to shift focus and change the budgets of these games. But ultimately, if there's a finite amount of spend, then you can only reconcile that by reducing the amount that you're spending on making games. You can only reconcile that by cutting heads. Really, there's no other way to like magic out the money unless you can figure out a way to get people to spend more than they already are, which isn't necessarily in our best interest. So it is a difficult one, Mr. I don't really know what the answer is, and the industry doesn't know what the answer is, so they're just going to keep chopping for the time being. Darge, what does the industry do? How do they address this problem?
I mean, Chris, obviously everyone, the COVID thing is going to have an effect. Like, all these who you have named, like Ubisofts and everyone pumping games out because everyone was at home to play through the games. You know what I mean? Like, obviously backlogs are still backlogs, you know what I mean? But game sales will be up, and it's all well and good. Everyone's still going to work, you know what I mean? But people are still going to want to chase that money, aren't they? They're still going to want to try and pump games out and continue to get sales and sales and sales. And, you know, I think on that side of things, I think just the publishers and that just going to have to get a little bit realistic about it. And it's just not, they're going to end up losing out, aren't they? You know what I mean? If they're pumping a load of money, like saying Ubisoft, they're going to pump 500 million into fucking the next, you know, Assassin's Creed. Well, Assassin's Creed's pretty safe, but like Skull and Bones, for example, let's take Skull and Bones. You know, I know it's been developed over a long period of time, but, you know, under that COVID mindset, it'll be, oh, we're going to get this out and it's going to fucking do really well and loads of people are going to be in it all day long. Yeah. When everyone's back at work and you've invested that money and you ain't getting that return. You know, I think only then that's when they'll dial it back and you know, layoffs occur and studio closures and this, that, and the other, and that's all a repercussion of that realism and you know that, oh, okay, the golden era's gone now. Right, we're back to normal now. Let's just rein it in.
It's a good example. Skull and Bones is a great example because it's taken a decade to make. It's circa $200+ million it's cost to make, and Ubisoft don't reckon it'll break even.
No.
The important thing is you love it though, don't you?
Yep.
I mean, I love it. Although I've got bored of it now and stopped playing it. I need the next season to start. me and Ricky G need the next season to start. We need some new content. But this, it poses the question because this is the issue, isn't it, with live service games? They'll get to a point where they ultimately kind of are either rinse and repeat or they're running out of content until they do something else. And it's like Ubisoft have now got to go, actually, we promised all these like 4 seasons. Did we put another $20-30 million into those, delivering those 4 seasons? Knowing full well, we're not going to break even at our 200, so we're not going to break even at that. To try and rekindle the series. And obviously, the one thing with Ubisoft is like the first Assassin's Creed got really boring because it was like a rinse and repeat. Then the second one was better. Then Black Flag was better. Then the others were like masterpieces and stuff like that. So they've got a bit of a track record of kind of, you know, bringing to life a new franchise and stuff. And on the one breath, you kind of like, well done for kind of introducing something new, which is like a little bit more of like a realistic Sea of Thieves. But on the next breath, you then will probably have the shareholders going, who the fuck signed off 200 million and we're not even going to break even?
That's the thing.
That's 22, isn't it?
That's the thing. Whatever, if it don't break even, whatever the loss is on that for a company like Ubisoft, we sort of sit here and go, Assassin's Creed safe. You know, Assassin's Creed will do well. But now, because that one hasn't broke even or may not break even, then it eats out the profit of Assassin's Creed. You get me? And then, like, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, fucking something's wrong here. You know what I mean? And then that's when it will come. The dust will settle, and then it will come back down. The game pumpage will be a lot lesser. You would like to think from the big major third party side of things because they'll be less reluctant to take the risks. So, yeah, soon enough, hopefully.
Fix the game pumpage and we'll all be all right. Let's have the next question, please. Right. Thank you everyone in chat, by the way. There's lots of people here having good conversations, which we are. Like, it's difficult to reply to everything and keep the conversation going, but it's good to read.
Hit the like and
hit the like. Long as balls question from Nagarak. See chat. So I know what this question is vaguely, but it's about to get pasted in. Yeah, this is to do with the cross-platform between consoles and
go to
PC.
Chris, so I can go to toilet.
Fair. So the question is, should Xbox make it so that all cross-play games with cheating PC players come with cross-play turned off automatically, and it's something that you should opt into? I personally hate playing against PC players who use a highly accurate device specifically designed for precision, let alone the fact that PC players are dirty cheaters. So take this from the perspective of first-person shooters, most likely. Should console players and PC players be forced into the same pool? Should it be off by default? What do you reckon, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I tend to if it's the other way around, I tend to have it turn it off straight away. And actually, I think on my Series X, you could go into that kind of like community setting, could you, and kind of turn it off so you
Force
don't
it,
even come
yeah.
across like PC players. Um, the issue is, I mean, I haven't got an issue playing with someone on PC. You know, if the kind of if it's a level playing field. The problem is, it's like a lot of people. I'm not talking about our fine gaming Arcadia community, but there's a lot of people out there who just use like cheat stuff, and it just pisses me off. Like it's why I stopped playing kind of like Warzone and stuff like that, because you just go in and minding your own business and get headshotted by someone, and if you look at the kill cam, they're like the other side of the map, and you're just like, what is the thing that I don't get is like, what is the enjoyment of that other than just being at the top of the
Oh, I don't know.
leaderboard or
Yeah,
whatever? And
cheating's like, what are you doing with your time? Yeah.
someone surely just go and yeah, they've cheated at the top. So yeah, I'd have it off as default and you opt in, which I think, to be honest, I think that's what it was like in Skull and Bones on PC. Even the other way around, it was like the console crossplay was off and I had to turn it on so me and my brother could play.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as it's an option and you can choose whichever way you want.
Yeah,
I've
I
got an
love
issue with it.
crossplay, and like I hate everything that stops people from being able to play with their friends, whatever the circumstances are. But
Yeah.
competitive shooting games doesn't make sense for the two different control schemes to be in the same pool for me. Obviously, I'm coming at this like my angle is sympathy for the PC player, because poor PC players using a keyboard and mouse, right? These things are designed for productivity and spreadsheets. You console gamers, you've got a device designed for gaming. What a massive advantage that you have on a controller, which is weirdly enough, like that's obviously not the case. The mouse is king for aiming for people's faces, but it is weird that devices dedicated to gaming have not managed to kind of surpass the keyboard and mouse yet, which was never intended for gaming in the first place. Nonetheless, it is what it is. Yeah, I actually think the other side of it is I think if you're doing crossplay between keyboard and mouse and controller, then from the development perspective, it dictates the way that the game looks and feels and plays for the controller players, as the developers have to try and keep it even and fair and like adjust their auto aim to keep it competitive rather than to keep it as fun as possible. So yeah, no, I absolutely think those pools should be separated on competitive games and completely overlapping cooperative games, because crossplay is awesome. Darge,
Yeah, man.
what do you reckon?
What about crossplay, mouse and keyboard?
Crossplay, mouse and keyboard, controllers, whether they should be separated, how that is in the industry in general.
Yeah, I think they should be separated. Like, obviously, I'm a controller. I play on PC, but I play on controller. I ain't got fucking time to learn this keyboard and mouse gear. But you should be able to play how you want to play. You know what I mean? And play with who you want to play with. You know, and like I did say I can't say the guy's name. Is Naga something his name,
Nagarax.
but I said Nagarax. That's it. I said to him at the time, because obviously when he put the question, he put those cheating PC players, and I said, like, obviously it's only a small percent of PC, the community that cheat anyway. You know what I mean? I play on with a controller and that. But I said absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, I've played Warzone and seen like the keyboard and mouse logo, and that guy's cracked. You know what I mean? And he, but you know, it is what it is. But there should be ways of, you know, at the end of the day, if you're buying these products, you know, playing those games, you should at least have those options available to you that you can play it to the best that you can enjoy. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, where's the fun in getting fucking aimbotted and shot through walls and all that? You know what I mean? It'll just turn people off, and that's down to the developers. You know, like, again, we spoke earlier about community power and all that. You know, you need to get loud about it. You know, if it's annoying and upsetting, you need to get loud about it, because they ain't going to do shit for you unless you start hitting them in other ways. So, yeah, it should be there. And I know it ain't in all. I think the reference, I think the point of reference that you mentioned was the finals. I think the finals is you can't toggle it. So you just match up with whoever you match up with. And he said, like, he was getting destroyed by some of the PC like blatant hackers. But yeah, so yeah, like to see more of it.
We've run quite long, so let's do one more question, and then we'll call it. I know you've had your Red Bull dice, but we'll end it. Right, Stephen Southwick, will the PlayStation 5 Pro put PlayStation in the same position that Xbox are in with regards to the Series S, with Sony having to develop for 2 SKUs? Not entirely, Stephen Southwick. So Microsoft, when they're developing Xbox games, need to do it across not just the Series S and the Series X, but the full array of console and PC hardware as well. So they need to develop for an almost infinite scale. Sony will still develop for the PlayStation 5, and they'll just do an enhanced version where they dial some things up for the Pro. So no, I don't think it will be equivalent, but it means that you won't get, like you wouldn't expect to get absolute maximum utility out of the PlayStation 5 Pro, because the target model is going to be the lowest common denominator, which is the PlayStation 5. Chris, do you reckon it's going to level the playing field a little bit when the Pro comes out?
No, I think it'll cause a couple of issues. I think the biggest thing will be like Digital Foundry and stuff going, oh, look how there are no issues on the PS5 Pro or whatever. And then a lot of people who've been championed of the PS5 will then realise how kind of weak it is in a more kind of modern day gaming engine and stuff like that. But yeah, as you just said, it's the number of SKUs are much less. Obviously, the tools and the SDKs and stuff are really good. I think the CIP stream has died. They're all about hang on.
I think it should.
I think Discord has been a bit iffy tonight.
Yeah. Are we back?
Well,
are we back?
Apologies for the interruption if you're watching on the YouTube. It should be back now. It looks like it's smooth again. So the only thing that I'll say, so I don't think the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be the thing that is a leveler between the way that Microsoft develop and the way that Sony develop their games. The thing that might be a leveler is Sony's PC approach. They need to, if they are being sensible with their expenditure, and you get the impression that they are cutting costs as well, then they are going to be looking at PC development from the get-go, rather than the focus on the PlayStation 5 and then let Nixis deal with it. It would be way more cost efficient to develop multi-platform approach from the off, and that will be a leveler in terms of performance and stuff like that. Darge, did you have anything that you wanted to say on that before we wrap up?
I just think you pretty much covered it all, didn't you? I mean, I was going to say, like, obviously they're only going to worry about, obviously, if they do day and date. I know they're looking a bit dry at the minute, first party wise. But they've only got to worry about their console base at the minute, and they, you know what I mean? And then when their PC, like you say, when they go to doing day and dates and all that, they've got Nixis on board who just specialise in, well, I don't think Nixis have had a bad port yet, have they? I think they're fucking wizards at what they do. So they look like a good investment for Sony. And they get it all done in house, don't they? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think they'll be absolute. I don't think the PS5 Pro is going to cause them any issues at all with regards to their development. And like Chris has said before on here, Sony always do like a good job on their development kit. You know, like being easy to work on, even though this would be a higher spec. You probably would think that they would do something with their SDK that will be able to they'll be able to utilize the full suite of features in the next system. So yeah, I don't think it'll affect them too much.
All right, there we go. That is all of the questions. I'm excessively tired, and I don't know why. It just suddenly hit me, and my PC lost connection and decided to be a bit of a dick. But I've also apparently lost connection and might just collapse and go to sleep in a minute. Has somebody uttered a spoiler? Is that what's happened? Am I experiencing the reboot right now? I don't know, but it is what it is. We've had our 2 hours. I think that's a good show. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed the conversation. We've definitely enjoyed having you all here to talk to us. Almost everyone, like most of the names here, have got that color that says you're a member of the Discord already, so you're on the right lines. If you're not already in there, get in there. It is brilliant. Episode 13, that's very rude. Don't tell me I look tired. I'm allowed to say it, you're not. But yeah, this is the end. So Chris, please tell people where they can find you and what you're up to for the week.
Twitter, GameOn Arcadia, Discord, and then hopefully things will just calm down a bit and I can actually get a bit of gaming in at some point. But yeah, my give a little bit of VR a go as well. But yeah, usual places, and yeah, I think I'm getting into Discord a bit more, which is good because obviously we've got a great community. And yeah, thanks for everyone for stopping by and everyone who threw questions in.
Yeah, absolutely. Darge just smiling a lot. Tell the people where they can find you for the week, apart from being on the roofs. Obviously, we know.
I'm on the roofs. You can find me on Twitter at Darge Knight occasionally. You'll always find me in the Discord. I always big up the Discord. Like I love the Discord. You know, we have over 100 members now in there, and it's popping off all the time. You know, all different characters. You know, all different tastes in what they like. So you got you got a bit of something for everyone in there now, haven't you? You know, if you like, I noticed we got quite a few people who all like Final Fantasy 14 for some reason as well. I felt like you'd sent them over intentionally just to boost up the hype on that game. But you just find me in there, just playing games. That's pretty much it. Like, thanks everyone. Like, I love it. You know, everyone that comes every week, gets chatty, gets involved with us. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new around here. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you next week.
Excellent. And I've just seen Skill and Panache has just said there that the gaming night rules. Gaming night we've been doing on the Sundays. We've been playing these big, like, large scale community games to get in on that. I'm free on Saturdays now as well. So there's going to be some bonus gaming nights, the Saturdays and the Sundays. Are going to have some good games going on. If you can get involved in those, please do. Say large scale, drop in, drop out, good fun games that we're playing there. You can also find me on Q&A tomorrow and the Xbox Series podcast on Thursday. And I've got my Pyre review coming soon. Hopefully the start of a big flow of video content, which will be nice to see as well, hopefully. So that's it. See you next time. Chris, strike a pose. I pressed the wrong button. Fuck. Chris, don't strike a pose. Now strike a pose. Here we go.